I don't know what kind of shady operation you're running, but decent people don't lurk on porches staring at kids.
7 a.m. sharp. I'm barefoot on my own porch, coffee mug steaming, sunrise glowing, when this stranger storms up. Phone already dialing 911.
Yes, officer! Suspicious man surveilling homes, watching the children.
My bacon's burning inside while her cheap perfume chokes everything. She's pacing my sidewalk like a maniac, jabbing her finger at me. Cop car rolls up, lights flashing. Officer asks for my ID on my property. She smirks like victory's hers. Huge mistake. What she didn't realize, that bogus call just poked the wrong bear. Sometimes karma doesn't rush. It hires a private investigator. And trust me, what he uncovered turned her smug grin upside down real quick. You ever deal with a Karen this unhinged? Drop your state and your wildest 911 abuse story below. Best one gets pinned. Let me back up and tell you how I got here. Growing up in Detroit, I learned you work for everything you get. My dad ran electrical for the auto plants before they shut down. Taught me that honest work and a firm handshake still means something in this world. 8 years I saved for this house. Every overtime hour, every weekend side job wiring suburban McMansions for people who probably never touched a tool in their lives. While my buddies bought new trucks and vacation trips, I drove my beat-up Honda and dreamed of morning coffee on my own front porch. The day I got keys to 428 Maple Street felt like winning the lottery. A 1950s craftsman with real character, floorboards that groaned familiar stories under my work boots, windows that actually opened to let in the scent of honeysuckle from the fence line. That wraparound porch where I could finally drink coffee in peace, feeling the smooth worn wood railing under my palms. First week was suburban paradise. Mrs. Henderson from next door brought warm snickerdoodles that smelled like cinnamon heaven, telling me about the neighborhood's glory days when everyone knew each other's names. Her husband Earl showed me which sprinkler heads leaked and warned me about the loose porch board that creaked like a haunted house. Quiet street, Earl said, rocking in his chair. Good people mostly, though that Whitmore woman. He glanced across the street, voice dropping to barely a whisper. She's got strong opinions about who belongs in this neighborhood. The way he said belongs sent ice down my spine. Delilah Whitmore's house looked like a fortress disguised as suburban perfection. Every grass blade identical, flowers arranged like tiny soldiers, security cameras positioned like she was protecting state secrets. The smell of chemical fertilizer hung around her property like a warning. Day 8, she made her move. I'm replacing a burnt porch light when she approaches wearing that fake concerned neighbor smile, the kind that promises trouble wrapped in politeness. Hello there, I'm Delilah Whitmore. Just wanted to welcome you and, well, discuss maintaining our neighborhood's character. The pause before character told me everything. This wasn't about property values. She starts listing concerns about undesirable elements and keeping our community safe for families. When I mention my electrician license, stable job with Morrison Electric, clean record, her smile gets sharper. Oh, you work with your hands. How industrious. The way she said hands like it was a dirty word. I'm sure you understand the importance of fitting in with established residents. That's when her mask slipped completely. Eyes went cold as January concrete. Some people, she continued, voice dripping fake sweetness, just don't understand how things work in neighborhoods like this. But they learn, or they relocate. The threat hung in the air like her overpowering floral perfume. Next morning, the harassment began in earnest. Code enforcement shows up. Grass allegedly too high. Day after, paint inspector claiming my trim was deteriorating. Then, mailbox violation for improper positioning. Each bogus complaint cost $75 and half a day off work, waiting around for inspectors who looked embarrassed, apologizing for the anonymous complaints. But day 12? That's when she crossed the line. I come home from rewiring a restaurant kitchen, boots heavy with exhaustion, to find Delilah standing in my driveway, not on the sidewalk, in my driveway, photographing my house with a telephoto lens like I was running a meth lab. Ma'am, that's private property. She doesn't even lower the camera. I'm documenting code violations for the Homeowners Association. There's no HOA here. There will be. And when there is, we'll have plenty of evidence about problematic properties. The camera kept clicking. My house, my truck, my life being cataloged like evidence in some case I didn't know I was defending. That night, Mrs. Henderson knocked on my door, wringing her hands like prayer beads. "She's done this before," she whispered, glancing nervously toward the fortress across the street. 3 families in 2 years. The Patels, the Johnsons, that veteran Mr. Thompson. She calls them neighborhood improvement projects. That's when it hit me. I wasn't her first victim. I was just the latest black man who dared to think he belonged in her perfect white suburb. Week 3 brought Delilah's nuclear option, weaponizing the police. I'm out front Tuesday morning, same routine, coffee steaming in the cool air, sunrise painting the street gold, checking my phone for the day's work schedule. The cardinal in my maple tree was doing his territorial call when I heard the sound that makes every black man's stomach drop. Car doors slamming. 2 of them. Officer Rodriguez climbs out looking like he'd rather be anywhere else. Behind him, a younger cop I didn't recognize, hand resting on his belt like he's expecting Al Capone instead of a guy in a Morrison Electric polo shirt. "Morning, sir. We got a call about suspicious activity at this address." I'm standing there holding a coffee mug, work truck in the driveway with company logos visible from orbit. About as suspicious as a golden retriever at a dog park. What kind of suspicious activity? Caller reported an unknown individual conducting surveillance of neighborhood homes, possibly casing properties for burglary. That's when Delilah emerges from her fortress, clutching a manila folder like it contains state secrets. The morning breeze carried her perfume, that same overwhelming floral scent that could knock a buzzard off a garbage truck. She's wearing her fake, concerned expression, but there's something new. A gleam in her eyes like a kid on Christmas morning. "Officer Rodriguez, thank you for responding so quickly. I have extensive documentation." She opens the folder revealing printed photos of me on my own porch. As you can see, this individual maintains irregular hours, has multiple vehicles, and spends considerable time observing family homes with children. The photos were taken with that telephoto lens, grainy surveillance shots that made my morning coffee routine look like I was planning the Kennedy assassination. Me checking my phone looked like coordinating with criminal associates. Me waving to the Henderson couple looked like signaling unknown accomplices. My electrician buddy had warned me about this once. "Document everything," he'd said after dealing with a crazy property manager. "People lie, but cameras and paperwork don't." I'd learned that lesson rewiring office buildings. Every change order, every modification, every conversation gets written down. But I never thought I'd need that philosophy for drinking coffee on my own porch. "Sir, can I see some identification?" I hand over my license, mortgage papers, work ID, utility bills, basically everything short of my birth certificate proving this is my house. Rodriguez examines them while his partner circles my truck, peering through windows at the electrical equipment like it might contain weapons of mass destruction. "This is quite concerning," Delilah pipes up, voice dripping manufactured worry. In my experience, legitimate homeowners don't require this level of verification. The way she emphasized legitimate made my jaw clench, like I needed her permission to exist in my own neighborhood. "Ma'am," Rodriguez said carefully, "everything checks out. Mr. Williams lives here, works for Morrison Electric, clean record, no outstanding issues." But Delilah was just getting warmed up. "Officer, I've maintained this neighborhood safety for 8 years. Different vehicles at unusual hours, irregular work patterns, photographing homes. These are textbook surveillance behaviors." I wasn't photographing anything. I was drinking coffee. That's convenient to claim now, but I have concerned residents who will verify otherwise. Rodriguez looked tired, the kind of bone-deep exhaustion that comes from responding to calls about suspicious people walking while black, breathing while black, existing while black. "Sir, you're not in trouble, but I need to ask, have you been photographing neighboring properties?" "No, officer. I drink coffee on my porch, go to work, come home. Same routine electricians have been following since Edison invented the light bulb." The younger cop finally found his voice. "Ma'am, did you personally witness this individual taking photographs?" Delilah's confidence stuttered like a bad electrical connection. "Well, no, but the behavioral pattern clearly indicates." "So you didn't actually see him taking pictures?" "I observed suspicious observation patterns." Rodriguez snapped his notepad shut. "Ma'am, observing the neighborhood isn't illegal. Neither is standing on your own property." As they walked back to their car, Rodriguez quietly slipped me his business card. "Mr. Williams, you might want to document any future neighborhood interactions for your own protection. The message was crystal clear, as fresh-cut glass. That afternoon, I was already on the phone with Jerome, who installs security systems downtown. "I need cameras, brother. Professional grade." "How professional we talking?" "Professional enough to catch someone making false police reports." 2 days later, Jerome arrived with equipment that made NASA jealous. Motion-activated, night vision, audio recording, cloud storage, the works. Turns out you can legally record anything visible from public streets, including neighbors behaving badly on their own property. The secret is camera placement on your property pointing toward public areas. I also started keeping logs like an electrical inspection report. Date, time, incident details, witnesses. My trade school instructor always said, "You can't fix what you don't document." Within a week, the pattern emerged clear as daylight. Delilah called police every Tuesday and Thursday, her days off from First National Bank. But here's the beautiful irony. By involving police, she'd created an official record of her own harassment campaign. 3 nights later, my cameras caught pure gold. Delilah trespassing on my property at 11 p.m., trying to peek through my garage window. That timestamp would become very important. Delilah's next move proved she'd graduated from amateur harassment to professional-grade psychological warfare, weaponizing the entire city bureaucracy like her personal army. Jim Bradley, code enforcement inspector, became my unwanted best friend. Poor guy showed up so often I started keeping extra coffee brewing. 5 complaints in 10 days, each more absurd than finding a unicorn in your garage. Monday, mailbox positioning violation. My mailbox allegedly sat 2 inches too close to the street. Jim measured it twice with a tape that had seen better decades, shook his head and muttered, "Lady, this is 2 inches. My belt's thicker than this violation." Wednesday, exterior paint deterioration. I'd literally painted the trim the week before with paint that cost more than some people's car payments. Jim ran his finger along the surface like he was checking for diamonds, looked at me with the expression of a man forced to arrest someone for breathing, and sighed. "I'm just doing my job, Xavier." Friday brought my personal favorite, visible utility connections creating aesthetic disruption. The electrical meter, identical to every other house on the block, was suddenly an eyesore requiring immediate remediation. Jim stared at the meter like it had personally insulted his mother, then at his clipboard, then back at the meter. "You know what this is?" he finally said, gesturing at the meter. "It's a meter, like every other meter in America, but apparently this one offends someone's delicate sensibilities." Each inspection cost me $75 and half a day explaining to Morrison Electric why I'd be late to actual paying jobs. The sound of Delilah's surveillance cameras tracking Jim's movements became my personal torture soundtrack, mechanical whirring like robot vultures circling a dying animal. But here's where Delilah showed her true genius: the coordination. From wiring commercial buildings, I'd learned city departments operate like isolated planets. Building inspectors don't talk to code enforcement. Fire marshals ignore zoning officials. Everyone stays in their lane and minds their own business. Except suddenly, my house was Union Station for city employees. Tuesday, fire marshal investigating improperly stored electrical equipment, my truck's standard tool loadout that every electrician in the state carried. Thursday, zoning officer checking reports of commercial vehicle storage in residential areas, the same truck I'd parked there since day one. The timing was too perfect. Someone was playing 4D chess with the bureaucracy while I was stuck playing checkers. Jim confirmed my suspicions during visit number 6. We stood in my driveway while he remeasured the distance between my truck and the property line for the 3rd time that week, when he dropped his voice to conspiracy-level whispers. "Xavier, this is off the record, but all these complaints come from the same IP address, same timestamps, same copy-paste wording. Someone's running a harassment factory and feeding it to every department in the city." The smell of hot asphalt from street repairs mixed with Jim's Marlboro smoke. 12 years doing this job, never seen coordination like this. It's harassment with a PhD in bureaucracy. Can you stop it? My hands are tied unless you file formal complaints. But whoever's running this operation knows the system inside out. They're staying just under the legal threshold for what we call vexatious complainant status, basically professional troublemakers who abuse the system. That phrase hit me like voltage through wet hands. There were actually legal protections against this stuff, but only if you knew the magic words and filled out the right paperwork in triplicate. Most people just gave up and moved rather than fight City Hall armed with nothing but righteous indignation. Smart Money said Delilah was counting on exactly that response. That evening, Mrs. Henderson appeared at my door carrying cookies and worry lines. Earl lurked behind her like a man about to deliver a cancer diagnosis. "Xavier, honey, we need to tell you something." She glanced toward Delilah's fortress like discussing Voldemort in a Harry Potter book. She spoke at the neighborhood watch meeting last night, bragging about her community improvement project. Earl stepped forward, voice rough as sandpaper on concrete, told the whole room she was cleaning up undesirable elements and protecting property values from certain influences. The way she said certain influences, he shook his head in disgust. What exactly did she tell them? That some people don't understand community standards and need education about appropriate behavior for family neighborhoods. Said she had the entire city government helping her resolve the situation permanently. Mrs. Henderson's hands trembled as she offered the cookies. They smelled like cinnamon and childhood memories, but the conversation tasted like bitter truth. She's done this before, Xavier. 3 families in 2 years. They all fought, they all lost, they all moved. That night, I made the decision that changed everything. Time to fight bureaucracy with bureaucracy. But first, I needed to know exactly what I was fighting. I started researching private investigators. Delilah's third act proved she'd been saving her best material for last. Social media warfare designed to turn the entire neighborhood against me. It started with a Facebook group that appeared overnight like a digital tumor. Sunset Grove Safety Watch. Delilah starred as administrator, backed by profile pictures that screamed retired with nothing but time and spite. The group's mission statement read like suburban poetry, keeping our family neighborhood safe through community vigilance and shared information. Real translation: let's destroy Xavier Williams using the power of weaponized gossip. The early posts played innocent, concerning behavioral patterns observed on Maple Street. Unusual vehicle activity disrupting residential peace. Community safety discussions regarding recent neighborhood changes. No names mentioned, but the photos told everything. My house from angles that would make a surveillance expert proud. My work truck looking somehow sinister when captured through telephoto lenses. Me carrying tool bags that appeared threatening when photographed from bushes like I was smuggling plutonium instead of wire nuts. The comment sections reeked of barely disguised racism wrapped in concern trolling. Those people always bring problems. There goes the neighborhood. I heard police were involved multiple times already. Technically accurate, police had visited because she kept calling them. By week 2, subtlety was murdered and buried in Delilah's perfectly manicured flower beds. Community alert: aggressive individual confronted concerned residents about legitimate neighborhood oversight, read one post, featuring a photo that made me look like I was threatening violence. Reality check. It captured the moment I'd politely asked her to stop photographing my house while standing in my own driveway. But her masterpiece was the petition to City Council. Emergency action required, addressing unwanted elements, threatening family safety. 17 pages of evidence that read like fan fiction written by someone who'd binged too many true crime podcasts. The document included photos of me existing while black on my own property, timestamps of suspicious activity that matched my normal work schedule, witness statements from 3 neighbors who spent their golden years perfecting the art of being professionally offended, and traffic analysis that literally counted my sister's weekend visits like intelligence gathering. The morning she hand-delivered copies door to door, the entire street smelled like her chemical warfare perfume mixed with desperation. She personally briefed every neighbor about my threat level like I was on the FBI's most wanted list. Mrs. Henderson showed me her copy later, hands trembling with anger. Xavier, this lunatic counted your UPS deliveries and labeled them suspicious package activity. She's got a photo of you getting your mail with a caption about territorial surveillance behavior. That's when Delilah made her fatal error. She got drunk on her own power. The Facebook posts became completely unhinged. Wild claims about criminal associations because my work truck appeared next to other contractors at job sites. Accusations of illegal business operations based on Amazon delivering packages to my house. My personal favorite, a detailed psychological analysis explaining how my morning coffee routine represented territorial marking behavior indicating potential for violence. Apparently, drinking coffee while black was now a psychiatric disorder. That's when my sister Maya entered the battlefield. Maya manages social media for downtown marketing clients, knows digital warfare like I know electrical systems. She took one look at the Facebook group and nearly spit coffee across her laptop. Xavier, this psychopath just created a prosecutor's dream case. She's live tweeting her own felonies. Maya infiltrated the group using a fake profile and started documenting everything before Delilah could delete evidence. Within days, we had screenshots of 47 harassing posts, 112 inflammatory comments, and one crystal-clear pattern of coordinated intimidation. But the real treasure came when Maya dug into Delilah's digital history. Our neighborhood safety crusader had been running identical campaigns across multiple communities. Riverside Watch in 2019, Oak Hill Protection in 2020, Meadowbrook Alliance in 2021. Each group followed the same playbook. Identify target, document concerning behavior, rally community support, maintain pressure until target relocated, then abandon the group and hunt fresh prey. Maya organized the evidence like preparing for war crimes prosecution. She's a serial neighborhood terrorist, Xavier. This isn't personal, it's her perverted hobby. The employment lawyer Maya recommended, Patricia Tatum, sharp enough to cut diamonds, reviewed our Facebook evidence and smiled like Christmas morning. Digital harassment campaigns with defamation elements and coordinated intimidation tactics, Patricia explained, spreading printouts across her conference table. Combined with false police reports and systematic municipal harassment, you're looking at both criminal and civil violations. But winning legal battles wasn't enough. I needed to understand exactly who I was fighting. That's when I made the call that changed the entire game. Rex Manning Investigations. Mr. Manning, I need a complete background investigation on someone who's been systematically harassing me. I think this woman has secrets, and I need to know what they are. Sometimes the best defense starts with knowing your enemy's weaknesses. And something in my electrician's gut told me Delilah Whitmore was hiding more than garden variety crazy. Rex Manning looked like Central Casting's idea of a private investigator. 5-day stubble, tie that had seen better decades, and eyes that had witnessed enough human stupidity to fill a library. His office reeked of stale coffee and broken dreams, with PI certificates covering water-stained walls like battle scars. The ancient coffee maker gurgled in the corner like a dying walrus, but the man himself radiated competence that made the shabby surroundings irrelevant. When I handed him Delilah's information and Maya's evidence folder, he whistled through teeth that had clearly seen their share of cigarettes and disappointment. Social media harassment, municipal weaponization, systematic intimidation campaigns. Rex flipped through printouts like a poker player reading winning cards. Your neighbor's running a masterclass in legal terrorism. Think you can find dirt on her? Son, I've been digging dirt since Clinton was president. Question isn't whether she's got skeletons. It's whether the closet's big enough to hold them all. 3 days later, Rex called with news that nearly made me drop my phone into my morning coffee. Xavier, hope you're sitting down because your neighbor's got more legal baggage than a Kennedy family reunion. Delilah Marie Whitmore had more outstanding warrants than a deadbeat dad convention. 3 active cases across 2 counties, all stemming from harassment campaigns she'd fled before facing consequences. Warrant number 1, $2,847 in unpaid fines from Riverside County, 2019. Harassment conviction against the Gonzalez family she called ICE, claiming they were illegal overcrowding violators. Plot twist, they were third-generation Americans, and he was a decorated city firefighter. The taste of bile hit my throat imagining families destroyed by her manufactured racism. Warrant 2, $1,923 in unpaid court costs, Oak Hill County, 2020. She reported elderly Marine veteran Thompson for illegal weapons stockpiling because he collected military memorabilia. SWAT team kicked down his door at 5 a.m. based on her anonymous tip. Each story carved another piece from my faith in humanity. But here's the crown jewel, Rex continued, papers crackling through the phone like campfire kindling. Failure to appear warrant, Johnson County, 2021. Skipped court date for violating a restraining order issued by the Hassan family. Young Muslim couple she'd been terrorizing with fake CPS reports claiming child endangerment. And the pattern was surgical. Identify targets based on race or religion, manufacture crises, weaponize government agencies, vanish before accountability arrived like some racist Houdini. Here's what makes this absolutely beautiful, Rex said, and I could hear him grinning through the phone. Any police contact triggers automatic arrest. Outstanding warrants mean she can't call cops without risking her own handcuffs. The cosmic justice was so perfect it felt like the universe finally balancing its books. Delilah had spent years weaponizing police against innocent families, but now law enforcement was her personal kryptonite. Gets even better. Employment record shows she bounces between financial institutions, starts harassing co-workers or customers, then either gets fired or quits before termination. First National Bank has no clue they're employing someone dodging bench warrants. I pictured her sitting in loan meetings, dispensing financial wisdom while dodging arrest warrants. The sheer audacity was almost impressive. "What's the move here, Rex?" "That's your call, Xavier. But I'll tell you this, every family she's destroyed deserves to know karma finally caught up with their nightmare." After hanging up, I sat on my porch studying Delilah's fortress across the street. The surveillance cameras tracking my every breath, the museum-perfect landscaping, the concerned citizen performance, all elaborate theater concealing a serial predator who'd perfected the art of legal terrorism. But now I held the remote control to her show. The security cameras whirred, adjusting focus like mechanical vultures trying to read my thoughts. Little did they know, for the first time since this war began, I was the one doing the hunting. The ethical dilemma kept me awake for exactly 37 minutes. Then I remembered Thompson, the elderly Marine whose door got kicked in at dawn because Delilah didn't like his flag collection. The Gonzalez kids crying while ICE agents searched their bedrooms for imaginary crimes. Some people deserve second chances. Serial predators deserve consequences. Rex Manning's office felt different this time. Less confession booth, more command center. He'd spread Delilah's victim files across his desk like war maps, each folder representing a family she'd destroyed for sport. "Outstanding warrants are beautiful things," Rex explained, coffee cup balanced on a stack of legal documents. "They never expire, never forgive, never forget. Physics always wins eventually." The legal papers smelled like old photocopier toner and delayed justice. Each timestamp told the same story. Complaint filed, lives destroyed, Delilah vanished before accountability knocked. How do we force police contact without crossing legal lines? Rex's grin could have powered my house for a week. That's the genius. You don't force anything. You create irresistible bait and let her hook herself. The strategy crystallized like perfectly aligned electrical connections. Delilah's fatal flaw was her compulsive need to control every blade of grass in her universe. Present her with community joy she couldn't regulate, and she'd call police faster than kids abandon vegetables. "Block party," Rex suggested, drumming fingers against his coffee-stained desk. "Wholesome, legal, guaranteed to trigger her control issues. She'll manufacture some emergency and hand-deliver herself to authorities." The plan sparkled with elegant simplicity. Neighborhood barbecue on public street, proper permits obtained, community participation encouraged. When Delilah inevitably called about noise violations or parking emergencies, Officer Rodriguez would run her name through the system and discover Christmas morning in warrant form. From rewiring commercial buildings, I'd learned that successful projects required proper load calculations and backup circuits. This operation needed the same methodical precision. That evening, I canvassed the neighborhood like an electrical inspector checking connections. The response floored me. Turns out half of Maple Street had been living in Delilah terror they'd been too embarrassed to discuss. Mrs. Henderson practically levitated with excitement. "Xavier, honey, we haven't had proper community spirit since Delilah started her reign of terror." Earl emerged from his garage carrying a folding table that had seen better decades. About time we reminded ourselves what normal neighbors act like. Professor Williams, retired university teacher with enough degrees to wallpaper his bathroom, offered his legendary dry-rubbed ribs. Community cohesion requires shared positive experiences. Also, my potato salad could end international conflicts. The artist couple, River and Zoe, crawled out of their creative cave long enough to volunteer homemade sourdough and acoustic guitar entertainment. "Finally," Zoe whispered, "something that'll annoy the neighborhood dictator." But the real revelation came through shared Delilah horror stories that made my experience look like a gentle massage. The Kowalski family whispered about anonymous complaints targeting their teenage son's basketball hoop. She reported it as a traffic safety hazard and aesthetic violation, Mrs. Kowalski explained, voice dripping disbelief. Lady tried to outlaw childhood in the name of property values. 3 houses down, the Tatum family revealed Delilah's war against their garden gnomes. Apparently, decorative garden elements indicate declining neighborhood standards, Mr. Tatum chuckled. She filed formal complaints about ceramic figurines like they were harboring terrorists. Each story followed identical patterns: anonymous reports, official harassment, neighbors too isolated to resist. But together, we represented something Delilah had never faced: organized community pushback. The permit process revealed something fascinating about municipal bureaucracy. When you follow proper procedures and involve multiple families, city officials practically throw resources at you. Neighborhood gatherings strengthen community bonds, explained Janet from Parks and Recreation, practically bouncing while stamping our permits. We encourage events that bring people together for positive reasons. Rex coached me on the technical aspects like I was studying for electrical licensing exams. You're not entrapping anyone, you're creating legal scenarios she'll voluntarily respond to. Crucial difference in courtrooms. My electrical training proved invaluable for event planning. Every circuit needs proper load calculations. Every installation requires code compliance. Every job demands backup plans for inevitable complications. Timeline: Saturday afternoon, 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Peak visibility hours, maximum neighborhood participation, optimal police response timing. Location: public street between my house and Henderson property. Tables, grills, speakers positioned on public property with permits displayed like electrical inspection certificates. Witnesses: 17 households confirmed attendance. 5 neighbors volunteered to discreetly document any police interactions for legal protection. Technical support: Patricia Tatum monitoring remotely for legal backup. Rex Manning stationed nearby but invisible. Officer Rodriguez pre-notified about legitimate community event. Most importantly, I'd called Rodriguez directly. Just giving you heads up about our permitted block party Saturday, in case dispatch receives complaints about parking or noise. His response confirmed everything. Thanks, Xavier. I'll flag it as legitimate community gathering. Have fun. The trap was engineered with electrical precision and community voltage. All that remained was waiting for Delilah to complete the circuit herself. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. Friday night, 12 hours before the block party, Delilah launched her most desperate offensive yet: physical sabotage with a side of character assassination. I woke up Saturday morning to find both my work vehicles sitting on flat tires, all 4 on each truck. Not random vandalism, but surgical precision designed to cripple my livelihood right before the community event. The morning air carried that distinctive smell of fresh tire rubber and automotive fluid pooling on concrete. My security cameras told the story in grainy night vision: hooded figure moving methodically around my driveway at 2:47 a.m., using what looked like a professional tire iron to remove valve stems. Too dark to identify the saboteur, but the timing wasn't coincidental. Calling in sick today? My supervisor Jim asked when I explained the situation. Xavier, this is getting crazy. Maybe you should consider that transfer to the North Side office we discussed. Even my boss was subtly suggesting I run. But Delilah wasn't finished with her midnight special. By 10 a.m., she'd escalated to full-scale information warfare. My phone started buzzing with concerned neighbors forwarding screenshots from the Sunset Grove Safety Watch Facebook group. Delilah had posted what she called urgent community safety alert, featuring photos of my flattened tires with creative captions. Vandalism strikes Maple Street. Unknown perpetrators target community improvement advocates. Is this retaliation for legitimate safety concerns? Are our families next? The post twisted reality with surgical precision. She'd photographed my damaged vehicles from angles that made them look like crime scene evidence, then crafted a narrative positioning herself as the victim of mysterious vandals targeting concerned citizens. The comments section became a festival of manufactured outrage. This is what happens when you stand up to troublemakers. Intimidation tactics won't work on real Americans. Time to contact authorities about escalating threats. Maya screenshotted everything before it could disappear. She's good, my sister admitted grudgingly. Evil, but good. She sabotages your trucks, then positions herself as the victim of sabotage. But Delilah's masterpiece came at 11:30 a.m., 90 minutes before party time. She appeared at my front door wearing her Sunday best and carrying an official-looking manila envelope. Through the window, I could see her practicing concerned facial expressions like an actress preparing for auditions. Xavier, she began when I opened the door, voice dripping false sympathy. I wanted to personally deliver this before your gathering begins. The envelope contained photocopies of what she claimed were anonymous neighbor concerns about the block party. 17 signatures, though half looked suspiciously similar in handwriting, requesting cancellation due to safety and security issues. As you can see, the community has serious reservations about unsupervised gatherings that might attract undesirable elements from outside the neighborhood. Translation: she was terrified the party would expose her to more people than she could control. Mrs. Whitmore, we have proper permits and police notification. Everything's completely legal. Legal doesn't mean appropriate, she replied, adjusting her purse strap like she was positioning body armor. Some activities, while technically permissible, create unnecessary risks for families with children. That's when I noticed her hands trembling slightly. Despite the confident performance, something was rattling her cage. I'm simply trying to protect our community's investment in safety and stability. I'm sure you understand the importance of maintaining standards. She turned to leave, then paused like a bad soap opera actress. Oh, and Xavier, I've already contacted relevant authorities about this morning's vandalism incident. I'm sure they'll want to investigate thoroughly before any large gatherings proceed. The threat was crystal clear. She'd called police about the tire slashing and would try to connect it to the block party somehow. But here's what Delilah didn't know. Rex Manning had been monitoring her movements since Thursday. Private investigators are like electricians. We know the importance of proper surveillance installation. She's panicking, Rex reported via text message. Visited 3 different government offices yesterday filing complaints about your event. Building department, noise control. Even tried the fire marshal. Nobody would cancel your permits. That afternoon, while I dealt with tire replacement and Rex documented Delilah's increasingly frantic behavior, our neighbors began the setup without me. Earl Henderson directed table placement like a military operation. Professor Williams commandeered grill duty with academic precision. The Tatum family transformed the street into a festival worthy of magazine covers. By 1:30 p.m., 15 families had assembled what looked like Norman Rockwell's fever dream of suburban perfection. Kids running between tables, adults sharing stories and laughter, the smell of barbecue smoke mixing with community spirit I'd forgotten existed. Maya arrived with professional recording equipment disguised as phone charging stations. If this goes sideways, she whispered, we'll have documentary quality footage. Rex positioned himself at the coffee shop 2 blocks away with clear sightlines to the street. Officer Rodriguez confirmed he'd be first responder to any calls from our address. At 1:55 p.m., I spotted Delilah through her front window, phone pressed to her ear, gesturing frantically at the gathering like she was reporting an invasion. The trap was about to spring itself. Delilah's final desperate gambit arrived via Facebook at exactly 2:17 p.m., 17 minutes after our block party officially began. Emergency community alert, illegal gathering blocking emergency vehicle access, children at risk from unsupervised activities and suspicious attendees. Police have been notified of safety violations. The post featured photos taken from her upstairs window that made our wholesome barbecue look like a scene from Mad Max. Creative angles turned Earl's folding tables into traffic obstructions, and Professor Williams's grilling station into an uncontrolled fire hazard. But her most impressive lie was the claim about suspicious attendees. She'd photographed Jerome, my security installer buddy, arriving with his daughter to join the festivities, then captioned it, "Unknown males conducting surveillance of family event." Jerome, incidentally, was wearing a "World's #1 Dad" t-shirt his daughter made him for Father's Day. Maya monitored the Facebook group in real time, screenshotting each escalating post as Delilah's narrative became increasingly unhinged. "She's posting every 3 minutes now," my sister reported. Full-blown panic mode. The comments section exploded with manufactured outrage from her 3 remaining followers, elderly retirees who probably didn't even live on our street anymore. "This is what lawlessness looks like. Call the mayor immediately. Property values are under attack." But the real community response told a different story. Actual neighbors started commenting with confused questions. "What safety violations? I see kids playing and families eating. My grandmother lives next door and says it's lovely. Ma'am, do you need medical attention? Because this looks like a normal barbecue." Rex texted from his surveillance position. Target making multiple phone calls, pacing in front windows, high stress indicators visible from street level. At 2:34 p.m., Delilah escalated to direct confrontation. She emerged from her fortress wearing what I now recognized as her concerned citizen conducting official business outfit, blazer, clipboard, determined expression that suggested she was saving democracy itself. "Excuse me," she announced, marching toward our gathering like a one-woman SWAT team. "I need to speak with whoever's responsible for this unauthorized disruption." The entire party fell silent. 23 adults and 11 kids turned to watch suburban theater at its finest. Even the toddlers seemed to sense something epic was about to unfold. "Ma'am, we have proper permits," Earl Henderson called out, holding up our paperwork like a shield. "Everything's completely legal." "Legal doesn't address safety concerns," Delilah snapped, consulting her clipboard like it contained nuclear launch codes. "I've documented multiple violations of community standards and municipal safety protocols." Professor Williams, bless his academic heart, engaged her like she was a confused student. "What specific violations have you observed, Mrs. Whitmore?" "Unauthorized assembly blocking emergency vehicle access, uncontrolled fire hazards creating smoke pollution, excessive noise levels during designated quiet hours, and suspicious individuals conducting surveillance of family activities." Mrs. Tatum burst out laughing. "Suspicious individuals? Martha, that's my husband grilling burgers for the kids." But Delilah was beyond reason, high on righteous indignation and whatever personality disorder had been driving her crusade. "This gathering represents everything wrong with declining neighborhood standards. Proper residents don't require community validation of their belonging." The way she said belonging made every person of color at the party flinch slightly. That's when Maya stepped forward with her phone recording. "Ma'am, are you saying certain residents don't belong in this neighborhood?" "I'm saying legitimate homeowners understand appropriate behavior without requiring demonstrations." What makes someone a legitimate homeowner? Delilah's mask finally slipped completely. People who respect established community values instead of trying to change everything to suit their preferences. The silence that followed could have powered the entire electrical grid. She'd just revealed her true motivation to 23 witnesses and Maya's recording equipment. Rex's text arrived like perfect timing. 2 patrol cars dispatched to your location. ETA 4 minutes. Target still on phone with dispatch adding details to her complaint. I felt that electrical tingle you get when all circuits align perfectly and power flows exactly where it's supposed to go. After months of harassment, manipulation, and fear, Delilah had finally given us everything we needed. At 2:51 p.m., police sirens became audible in the distance. Delilah straightened her blazer and smiled like Christmas morning had arrived early. "Finally. Perhaps now you'll understand the consequences of ignoring community concerns." Mrs. Henderson leaned over and whispered, "Xavier, honey, that woman's about to learn what consequences actually look like." The sirens grew louder, promising justice that had been 3 years and countless victims in the making. For the first time since this nightmare began, I smiled back at Delilah's approaching triumph. She had no idea she was about to arrest herself. 2 patrol cars rounded the corner at exactly 2:53 p.m., emergency lights painting the street in red and blue like a patriotic light show. Officer Rodriguez climbed out of the first vehicle looking like a man who'd rather be directing traffic, followed by a backup unit I didn't recognize. Delilah practically skipped toward them, clipboard clutched like a religious artifact, and phone still recording what she clearly expected to be my public humiliation. "Officers, thank you for responding so quickly," she gushed, pointing at our gathering like she'd discovered a terrorist cell. "As I reported, this illegal assembly is creating multiple safety hazards and disturbing the peace of our family neighborhood." Rodriguez surveyed the scene with professional skepticism. 23 adults and 11 kids enjoying potato salad and hamburgers on public property, with proper permits displayed on Earl's card table like electrical inspection certificates. "Ma'am, I have your complaint on file, but I'm not seeing any violations here. This appears to be a permitted community event." "Permitted or not, it's creating dangerous conditions," Delilah insisted, consulting her clipboard with theatrical intensity. "Traffic obstructions, fire hazards, noise violations, and suspicious individuals conducting surveillance activities." She gestured dramatically at Jerome, who was currently playing cornhole with his 8-year-old daughter while wearing that world's #1 dad shirt. "Ma'am," the backup officer interjected, "can you point out specific violations we should address?" That's when Delilah made her fatal error. In her desperation to justify the police response, she started embellishing her original complaint. "These people have been harassing me for months, making threats, vandalizing my property, trying to force me out of my own neighborhood. This gathering is obviously retaliation for my legitimate safety concerns. Rex Manning emerged from the crowd like a ghost materializing at a seance. Professional, calm, carrying a leather portfolio that screamed official business. Excuse me, officers. I'm Rex Manning, licensed private investigator. I believe there's information relevant to this situation. Rodriguez's eyebrows shot up like he'd just solved a puzzle he'd been working on for months. What kind of information, Mr. Manning? Mrs. Whitmore has outstanding warrants in 2 counties. I have documentation here if you'd like to verify. The color drained from Delilah's face like water from a broken circuit. Her clipboard trembled in hands that suddenly couldn't grip properly. That's completely false, she sputtered, backing away from the officers like they'd become radioactive. This man is obviously working with them to harass innocent residents. But Rodriguez was already on his radio, voice crisp and professional. Dispatch. Need warrant check on Delilah Marie Whitmore, D.O.B. The backup officer stepped closer to Delilah, who was now backing toward her house with the desperate energy of a cornered animal. Ma'am, I need you to remain here while we verify this information. I don't have to listen to this harassment. I'm the victim here. I'm the one trying to protect our community. Rex opened his portfolio with the satisfied precision of a man who'd been waiting 3 years for this moment. Officers, I have documentation of identical harassment patterns in 3 different counties between 2019 and 2021. Same methods, same targets, same outcomes. Rodriguez's radio crackled to life. Confirm 3 outstanding warrants for Delilah Marie Whitmore, 2 unpaid harassment fines, 1 failure to appear. Advise arrest on site. The entire block party fell silent except for the sound of Delilah's world collapsing in real time. Her perfect suburban facade crumbled like old wiring, finally giving up the ghost. This is a setup, she screamed, voice climbing toward hysteria. They planned this whole thing to frame me. I know people. I have connections. This won't stand. The backup officer stepped forward with handcuffs, voice calm and professional. Ma'am, you're under arrest on outstanding warrants. You have the right to remain silent. What happened next will live forever in Maple Street legend. Delilah attempted to run, in heels, across her own perfectly manicured lawn. She made it approximately 12 feet before her stiletto heel caught in the sprinkler system she'd obsessed over for 8 years. The fall was spectacular, a slow-motion disaster that ended with the neighborhood's self-appointed dictator face down in mulch she'd probably hand-selected for maximum aesthetic impact. The assembled families watched in stunned silence as officers helped her to her feet, grass stains decorating her business blazer like badges of cosmic justice. I want my lawyer, she shrieked as the handcuffs clicked into place. This is illegal. This is harassment. This is... Ma'am, Rodriguez interrupted gently. This is what happens when outstanding warrants catch up with you. As they loaded her into the patrol car, the entire neighborhood burst into spontaneous applause. Mrs. Henderson actually whooped. Professor Williams raised his beer in salute. Even the kids seemed to sense they'd witnessed something historically significant. The squad car disappeared around the corner, taking 3 years of terror with it. For the first time since I'd moved to 428 Maple Street, the neighborhood felt like home. The block party continued until sunset, transformed from community gathering into liberation celebration. Someone cranked up music, kids resumed playing without looking over their shoulders, and adults shared Delilah horror stories with the cathartic relief of trauma survivors finally breathing free. Mrs. Henderson hugged me with tears streaming down her cheeks. Xavier, honey, you gave us our neighborhood back. Earl raised his beer toward Delilah's empty fortress. To good neighbors and bad neighbors getting exactly what they deserve. The toast echoed down Maple Street like a battle cry 20 families had been waiting years to shout. Officer Rodriguez stopped by before leaving, handing me his card with a genuine smile. Xavier, just wanted to say, you handled this exactly right. Documentation, legal process, community support, that's how the system's supposed to work. What happens to her now? 2 counties want her for unpaid fines totaling over $4,000, plus failure to appear charges. She's looking at significant jail time or hefty restitution. He glanced toward her house, security cameras still whirring pointlessly. Either way, she won't be anyone's neighbor problem for a while. Rex Manning packed his surveillance equipment with the satisfaction of a man whose professional reputation had just been enhanced considerably. Xavier, this case is going in my portfolio. Perfect example of how patience and proper investigation beat revenge every time. The legal aftermath unfolded like a textbook case study in justice delayed but not denied. Delilah's house went up for sale within 2 weeks. Family intervention after her arrest revealed a pattern of behavior that horrified relatives who'd had no idea about her hobby. The sale proceeds would cover her legal debts, fines, and restitution to previous victims. Patricia Tatum, my employment lawyer, used our documentation to file harassment charges on behalf of multiple families Delilah had terrorized. She's facing civil liability that could reach 6 figures, Patricia explained during our final consultation, plus criminal charges in 3 counties. Her harassment days are permanently over. The city attorney's office implemented new procedures for handling vexatious complaints after our case exposed how easily the system could be weaponized. Jim Bradley, the code enforcement inspector, sent me a personal thank you note. You saved countless hours of wasted taxpayer money and prevented future harassment of innocent residents. But the most satisfying outcome wasn't legal, it was social. 3 months after Delilah's arrest, our informal block parties became monthly traditions. Maple Street First Saturdays brought together families who'd been isolated by fear for years. Kids played freely, adults shared tools and recipes, and the Henderson couple became neighborhood grandparents to children whose actual grandparents lived states away. Professor Williams organized skill-sharing sessions where I taught basic electrical safety to families, while others shared cooking, gardening, and home maintenance knowledge. Community resilience, he called it, built through mutual support rather than mutual suspicion. I used the settlement money from our harassment lawsuit. Delilah's homeowners insurance ultimately paid damages to multiple families to establish the Sunset Grove Neighborhood Improvement Fund. Our first project transformed the vacant lot where Delilah used to dump her grass clippings into a community garden that became the pride of our street. Maya documented the transformation for her marketing portfolio, creating a social media campaign about neighbor helping neighbor that went viral and landed her 3 new corporate clients. Positive stories sell better than drama, she explained. Who knew? My morning coffee ritual returned to its original purpose, peaceful contemplation instead of surveillance anxiety. The cardinal in my maple tree resumed his territorial calls, but now they sounded like victory songs. The Henderson couple waves from their porch. The Tatum family's garden gnomes stood proudly unmolested, and Professor Williams flies his pride flag without fear of anonymous complaints. 6 months later, Rex Manning called with news that made my day. Remember the Hassan family from Johnson County, the young Muslim couple Delilah harassed with fake CPS reports? They want to thank you personally. Your case gave them the evidence they needed to sue for damages and clear their names. Sometimes justice moves slowly, but it moves. The new neighbors who bought Delilah's house turned out to be a lovely retired couple who bake cookies for the whole street and think community gardens are the height of suburban sophistication. And every morning, drinking coffee on my porch, I remember that home isn't just where you live, it's where your community chooses to include you.